you, Alan. Awesome. May we all shine the light within. Yes, I love that. So, welcome again. Our theme in this month of October, today's the last day of October, as you know, Halloween, has been in the Centers for Spiritual Living, going further together. And Reverend Maggie has had some wonderful talks about divine community, the importance of community, sharing the dream, and digging deep. And as we have been reminded, there's a great African proverb that says, alone we can go faster, together we go further. What a great idea. So I invite us to go further with each other. And along the way, mind your manners. That's the talk title today of my talk, called Mind Your Manners. Because I think if we're in this thing called life together, it would be kind of better, I think, to mind our manners and be courteous, be conscientious. Do you agree?
Yes.
So, beginning today, I want to read a story that will reflect a lot of my talk. And it's from one of my favorite teachers, Mark Nepo, from the Book of Awakening. And it's called The Spider and the Sage. In India, there's a story about a kind, quiet man who would pray in the Ganges River every morning. One day, after praying, he saw a poisonous spider struggling in the water, and he cupped his hands and carried it ashore. And as he placed the spider on the ground, it stung him. Unknowingly, his prayers for the world diluted the poison. The next day, the same thing happened. On the third day, the kind man was knee-deep in the river, and sure enough, there was the spider, legs frantically in the water waving. As the man went to lift the creature yet again, the spider said, "Why do you keep lifting me? Can't you see I will sting you every time? Because that is what I do." And the kind man cupped his hands about the spider, replying, "Because that is what I do." There are many reasons to be kind, aren't there? But perhaps none is as compelling as the spiritual fact that that is what we do. That is what we do. It is how the inner organ of being keeps pumping. Spiders sting, wolves howl, ants build small hills that no one sees, and human beings lift each other, no matter the consequence, even when other beings sting. Now, he says, some will say this makes us a sorry lot that never learns. But to me, he says, it holds the same beauty as how berries break through the ice and snow every spring. It's what quietly feeds the world, kindness. After all, the berries do not have any sense of purpose or charity. They simply want to be delicious because that is what they do. As for us, if things fall, we will reach for them. If things break, we will try to put them together. If loved ones cry, we try to soothe them, because that is what we do. I have often reached out, and sometimes it feels like a mistake. Sometimes, like the quiet man lifting the spider, I have been stung. But it doesn't matter, because that is what I do. That is what we do. It's the reaching out that is more important than the sting. Boy, I could just end my talk right there. Because that is what we do. Yeah. We all have experienced minding our manners, or what it used to be called etiquette training. I don't know, this group might have not remember that, but I remember it. Or you had manners at home, like don't put your elbows on the table. That was one of ours. Or putting the forks in the right place, or how to set the table. Or as kids, we learn how to say please and thank you, right? Or we open the door for someone, or we hold the door open for someone who's coming behind us. Those are just courteous things to do. But the word etiquette, this is interesting, was coined by the gardener of Louis XIV. And the original French meaning was keep off the grass. And though its meaning has changed over the centuries, its intent remains to create mindfulness-based interactions with others and the world. Manners are simply a system of respect. So is courtesy and etiquette. Remember Emily Post? Well, she was an expert on etiquette, and she offers this. Manners are a sensitive awareness of the feelings of others. If you have that awareness, you have good manners, no matter what fork you use. I like that. You may think manners are artificial or an invasion of your personal freedom or just simply passé, but in truth, think about this. They carry an energy and a vibration, don't they, that declares what we value and who we are. So when we're courteous, it shows who we are. When we're kind, when we're forgiving. I don't know if you remember in driver's ed, there was courtesy in driving. Turn off your high beams when someone's coming towards you. That's courtesy. Putting on your signal when you're turning or changing lanes. That's courtesy driving. Keep a safe distance from the driver ahead of you. That's courtesy. Is that happening now? Well, but that's what we learned when we took driver's ed, actually. So I'm just wondering if you're willing to mind your manners and to pay more attention to that. Are you willing?
Yes.
You know, maybe think about it. Actually, I'm going to ask you to mind your spiritual manners, because that is what we do. So last month, I talked about, from the book I've been working with in my class, Spiritual Liberation by Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. And I talked about how there are certain practices that help us rise in consciousness. And I'm going to share some other ones of those today that give us how to develop our spiritual manners. So I'm going to bring up a chart here. Or Alan's going to bring up a chart. Great. And it's nice and big, so you should be able to see it all. Oh yeah, perfect. So we start with minding your manners. Spiritually speaking, we start with gratitude, which we talk a lot about here. Gratitude is considered the birth of spiritual manners, according to Reverend Michael. These are his suggestions. And think about in Proverbs 17, it says, "A merry heart doeth like good medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones." So are we minding our manners here on life on earth? And can we give thanks for this gift of this thing called life? Can we give thanks for the body-mind-spirit connection that science is catching up to and understanding that it's all connected? And that something the ancient mystics have known forever. Can we be grateful for our life and be a gracious guest? Are you willing to be a gracious guest in life and be grateful? And are you grateful for your body instrument? Do you thank your body every day? Probably not. If you take my yoga class, I always say at the very beginning and end of class, just silently thank your body. I invite you just to do that right now. Just silently, just say thank you, body. And breathe that in, because your cells hear it. Your cells hear it. What do you take for granted in your life right now that you could just say a big thank you, God, for? Think about that. We have so many things in our lives we take for granted. I'm just going to invite you this week to say thank you a lot. You know, Jesus' method of approach during his entire ministry was to give thanks first and then command the law to work. He exercised an authority which seemed to be the result of his deep communion with the Spirit within. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, said, "Praise and thanksgiving lighten the consciousness to a point of acceptance. They are attitudes of recognition. They are affirmations of the divine presence, the divine abundance, and the divine givingness. With praise and thanksgiving, I bless the spiritual reality back of all things. Praise and give thanks. Praise and give thanks. That is the birth of spiritual manners. So let's affirm this together. Repeat after me if you like. I give great thanks for my mind, body, and soul.
I give great thanks for my mind, body, and soul.
Because that is what we do.
Because that is what we do.
Take a breath. Because you're giving yourself a blessing on all these today. So the second is the fuel of spiritual manners, which is enthusiasm. Ernest Holmes has a great definition in the Science of Mind textbook, in the back, of what his definition of enthusiasm is. It's on page 589 for those students that want to know. Enthusiasm is an exaltation of soul, a lively manifestation of zeal. Enthusiasm is compelling and sweeps everything before it. The root word from which we get enthusiasm actually means inspired. And one truly filled with enthusiasm is like one inspired, as if filled with a divine power, which one actually is. We become enthused in the consciousness that we are God-sustained and filled with God power. Such consciousness makes our enthusiasm irresistible. Ernest Holmes, who would have thought? So enthusiasm, Reverend Michael says, is not something we have to create. It's actually an organic quality of our consciousness. But we have to invite it forth. We have to let it rise within us and then let it fuel our endeavors and interactions with others. Smile. You're on life's camera. What if we enthusiastically approached our spiritual practices every day, our daily practices? What if we enthusiastically meditated, did our affirmative prayer, and studied enthusiastically? Or think about when you take a Lyft or an Uber ride. What if you got in the car and said, "All right, yes, this is your lucky day, driver. I am the best passenger ever." Yeah. Right? When you bring the fun, it makes fun for everyone. Hear that. When you bring the fun or the joy, it makes it for everyone. You flip the switch inside someone else when you're enthused. So don't be afraid to dial up appreciation because it's contagious. Even smiling, I've talked about this. Just smile, and if you smile at someone else, you're sending a mirror neuron to them to encourage them to smile, and even if they don't smile, it's boosting their immune system because your immune system is boosted. So, this afternoon after my talk, I'm giving a Laughter is Medicine workshop, which is a great way to understand how smiling, laughter, and breath boost your immunity, lowers your blood pressure, just makes you feel better. I remember when I took my first laughter yoga workshop, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know, it seems kind of silly and dumb. I had the best time ever, and I felt so good afterwards. So please stay if you can and join me. It's just a lot of fun. We're silly, yes, but it doesn't matter. We're being enthusiastic. So Ernest Holmes also says, the mind that created and sustained the universe must have as essential nature vitality and activity. We are each expressions of the creative mind, and our inheritance is the capacity to express life with a zest, a punch, and a joy. To do this, we must be aware of our inner divine potential, and through cooperation with it, let it act through us. So take a breath with that, because I know sometimes, and if some of you came in today with a heavy heart or some upset, to just allow that idea, that possibility that maybe I can relax a little bit and allow that joyous enthusiasm to enter. So let us affirm together. Repeat after me if you like. I am enthusiastic about this thing called life.
I am enthusiastic about this thing called life.
Because that is what we do.
Because that is what we do.
Take a breath. Integrity. Integrity is the backbone of our spiritual manners. And no one has to tell us what integrity is, right? Because it's inherent in us. It speaks through our conscience and an innate wisdom. Integrity leads us into the heart of what we stand for, right? What are the values and ethics that guide your actions in the world? Think about that. How do you present yourself? With integrity? Integrity is a revealing of our essential nature, which is, in truth, is made, as it says in the Bible, in the image and likeness of our source. Integrity is living by universal spiritual principles that govern our universe. Integrity doesn't mean that we never err or we never fall short of our intentions, but that we have the spiritual backbone to catch ourselves, to make amends if we have to, and to get back on track, to get back into our practice, to get back to the truth. Haven't you noticed in studying the science of mind or any new thought tradition, how much more quickly you notice when you're out of integrity or you're off track? We can feel it viscerally, can't we, when we're out of our center, out of integrity. We can feel it. It doesn't feel good. And we can always come back. Just notice and come back. Keep coming back to that center within. So we mind our spiritual manners by walking our talk, by honoring our commitments, by being true to our word. And there's congruency in what we think, say, and do when we live in integrity. Ernest Holmes said, the temporal imperfection of the human cannot dim the eternal integrity of the divine. Yeah. So we can tap into that divine integrity. So let us affirm, I live in integrity because that is what I do.
I live in integrity because that is what I do.
Take a breath with that. And again, just kind of remembering not to be judgmental or beat ourselves up when we notice we're off track. The beauty is we just come back, forgive ourselves, and move forward. Respect. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Something. It's the heart of spiritual manners. Reverend Michael says, respect is the recognition that all beings are sourced by the infinite and therefore imbued with its essence. When we consciously realize this, we treat ourselves, others, Mother Nature, with respect. When we express respect to a person, it goes forth from us as a potent vibration and energy, which quickens that person's own self-respect. Yeah, has to start within, doesn't it? It always starts within, doesn't it? Always starts with us. Respect is the highest expression of love. And the art of respecting begins with self-respect. And that self-respect then generates respect for others. Ernest said, when we let the love that is within us go out to the divine presence that is in all things and all people, then we are loving God with all our heart, with all our soul and mind, because we are recognizing that the spirit within is the same spirit that we need in another. I forgot to remind you about gold nuggets, but most of you know to keep track of where your gold nugget is today. So the Namaste greeting, it's very common now to bow and Namaste to someone. which basically says the light in me honors the light in you. Or, I honor the peace of the universe that resides in you. So I invite you again, as we did in the meditation, to just look around the room for a moment and silently acknowledge each other with a blessing in your eyes. A silent namaste. You can even nod. Yeah. Because think about this. Just as we breathe, we take in air until it fills our lungs. Once inside of us, it's impossible to discern what part of that air is mine and yours, and what part came from the universe. Likewise, as our hearts open, we take in spirit from the universe until it fills our individual soul spirit. Once inside of us, it's impossible to discern what part of the vastness of spirit is mine and what is yours, and what part came from the timeless reservoir of spirit. Think about that. Wow. It makes us feel connected, doesn't it? As healthy lungs keep us alive by exchanging the airflow in and out of us, a healthy, sacred heart keeps us vital by exchanging spirit that flows in and out of us. Yes, we are unique individuals, but we each carry the same timeless spirit within us. Everyone does. They just may not show it like we want them to. Bless their hearts. And Ernest says, we may not love the outer actions of others, but we can love the fact that God dwells in them. To all who would irritate me, I say, the love of God in me loves the love of God in you. So we can ask that divine to support us in trying to support another. We don't have to agree with what they do or say. But there's a part of us, that divine part of us, that is in their divine part. So when we respect, it causes us to pour out a blessing on all of life and to affirm a prayer for the well-being of everyone. So let's affirm together. Respect is at the heart of my motivation.
Respect is at the heart of my motivation.
Because that is what I do.
Because that is what I do.
Breathe that in. Generosity is the activity of spiritual manners, according to Reverend Michael. We've talked about generosity a lot here. And generosity, I'd like to think of it as a currency of circulation. As we allow unlimited substance to flow through us, we discover that we have more to give and share because we are tapped directly into that divine storehouse, that divine bounty. Generosity is simple, but a powerful way of saying thank you to life itself when we're generous. And it's contagious, isn't it? It leaves a profound effect both on the giver and the receiver. As Jesus the Christ said, as you give, so shall you receive. And we know here, generosity is not just about money. Money's good. Be generous with your contributions. But it's also, we can express generosity through different resources as our thoughtfulness. Holding the door open for someone to come through. Through loving kindness. Generous with our time, our talent, our energy. Volunteering. Generous with our compassion for another. Generous with our skills and our courtesy towards others. Generosity softens the hard places of our heart. Yeah. So where in your life are you generous? And where in your life could you maybe be a little more generous? We lift our cup of acceptance, Ernest Holmes said, to the divine bounty when we think affirmatively and with gratitude to the giver of all life. Daily, we can practice affirming that our cup is filled and running over. And remembering that what we affirm for ourselves, we must affirm for others. Yeah. So let us affirm together, I practice generosity because that is what I do.
I practice generosity because that is what I do.
Are you with me?
Yes.
Creativity, the soul of spiritual manners, according to Reverend Michael. And he says, creativity is the very pulse of our life. We cannot move, breathe, blink our eyes, or think without setting creative energy in motion. When we open to our innate creativity, we graciously acknowledge the power, the capital P, behind all the powers that have been given us. And think about it. Everyone is involved in the act of co-creating their life. Everyone. Consciously or unconsciously. And we're always a choice. We're always a choice, aren't we? That's one thing we learn here in the Centers for Spiritual Living is about choice. And when we start to choose a better thought, a better idea, a better direction, our life moves in a better way. We don't have to play victim anymore. We can play victor. Where others see problems, we are willing to see creative solutions and turn our attention to the solution. Reverend Michael said, the greatest artistic achievement is how we live our life. You, each of you, is a vibrant life artist who is fully capable of joyously minding your spiritual manners as you participate in creation's cosmic dance. So if you mind your spiritual manners and practice these, wow, you'll just be hopping along, dancing through life, enjoying yourself, supporting others, and being a beneficial presence on this planet, which I believe is why we're here. Not to say things aren't going on that are upsetting. No. But where is our attention? And what are we giving power to? That's the difference. So we can set creative energy in motion from the moment we wake up in the morning, can't we? I mean, think about it. How do you start your day? Do you get out of bed and, oh gosh, another day. Oh, where's my coffee? I know none of you do. Not here, not now, not ever. So you want to think about in the morning to prepare your consciousness, prepare your mind to welcome the day to what you expect. You all know I do this every day. I open my arms and I say, today is a great day. How can I serve today? I am a creative genius. What creative genius am I going to be today? Or whatever comes into my mind. And I open to that possibility that there's something great for me to do today. Some way to be of service, to be kind. So I invite you to think about that, to start your day with an intention of good. Because it won't do you wrong. It won't do you wrong. The universe will magnet back to you. It's the basic metaphysics 101, right? Law of attraction, duh. We know that. Takes discipline and practice to simply remember it. Maybe put a timer on your phone and have your phone say, it's a great day today, or something, I don't know, if you need support. Or I could call you every month. No, I won't call you every month. But the practitioners do have, every weekday, you can tune into Facebook Live, or keep your midweek buttons. If you don't have Facebook, you don't have to. And we offer you prayer and meditation every morning for about 10 to 20 minutes, depending on who's there. It's a great way to start your day. So in the consciousness of the absolute, there is no thought or act that is not creative. And we can be consciously creative by practicing mindfulness. Just being mindful, for gosh sakes. Mindful of how we are in integrity or out of. mindful if we're being respectful, mindful if we're being generous, mindful if we're enthusiastic or grateful. Even in the most mundane activities, we can be mindful, like walking. The Zen Buddhist master Thich Nhat Hanh said, "If we take steps without anxiety, in peace and joy, then we will cause a flower to bloom on the earth with every step." If we take steps without anxiety, in peace and joy, then we will cause a flower to bloom on the earth with every step. Yes. So I invite you to give yourself permission from this day forth to let your spiritual manners come to the front and apply them creatively, with joy, enthusiasm, and gratitude, because that is what we do. Let's take that into prayer. Take a big breath with me as we turn within to that sacred center of self, that place within us that has never been separate from its good, that place within us that is a beautiful light of understanding, wholeness, and unity. It is from this place within me I call forth the infinite indwelling spirit, Almighty God within me, that which is truth within me. I call it forth now as I open to this perfect moment of receptivity, remembering, recognizing the omnipresence, omniscience, and omnipotent power of God right here, right now, moving in and through everything and everyone. And so I am grateful today to simply remember that each of us is an instrument in this divine symphony of life, that each of us is willing and able to practice our spiritual manners so that we become that beneficial presence on the planet that we were intended to be, that we let go of judgment, condemnation, hatred, upset, fear, and worry. We let go and we open and turn to the power of love, the power of peace, the power of that divine essence within us that guides us and guards us and leads us into the right thing to do, say, and think. And it's happening now. It's happening now. Yes. And so I'm grateful to simply know this truth, that we are uplifted and elevated. We rise in consciousness right now to the greater good that's ever available. And something wonderful is happening on the unseen side of life for each of us. There's a healing. There's a revealing of truth. There's a balance. There's a harmony. There's an equanimity that's happening in the body temple, in the mental body, in the emotional body, and in the energetic body. Everything coming into balance and harmony in this moment, right now, for everyone hearing these words. And so we breathe, we accept, we just smile and say, thank you, life, thank you, God. And so we do. And I release my words with such gratitude and appreciation. I release them into the love and the law, knowing that it is already done in the divine bond of God. And so I let go and let God, and join me in affirming, and so it is. Amen.